Welcome to the Adjunct CEO podcast with your host, the Adjunct CEO, Dean Akers. Tips, ideas, and interviews with top leaders to help you and your business when results matter.
So I want to welcome everybody back to the show. I'm real excited. We've had a lot of great listener feedback. It's going really well. This is a video I'm trying today, Adjunct CEO. I've got an interesting show today. I was asked by some folks in the real estate business. I was having a coffee the other day and we were talking about the industry and how many people are in the industry and how competitive it is. And I started thinking back 2 years ago when I was invited in to speak to a pretty large local real estate group. And I would suggest that this show today would apply to everybody out there. And I would encourage you, if you're not doing this, to make sure you're taking the time and effort to really think through this. And what it is, it's called the time value, the total value of a customer. And I can say that that relates to real estate, relates to restaurants, it relates to retail stores, relates to business to business. So when you see a transaction that happens one time, the question you want to ask is that going to be your only interaction with that client in your business for the rest of time? And that might be true if it's a highway gas station on a turnpike where somebody gets off and fills up, gets in and goes off, but it's also true with brands. But I want to talk today specifically about real estate and how the impacts are there, because this was a friend of mine was talking about the real estate business and they said, oh, it's so competitive, everybody's in it. And I kind of shared with them, I said, well, there's a lot of people in real estate. There's a lot of people in any business. You go out and you look at the automotive services business, there's a lot. You go to restaurants, there's a lot. There's a lot of people in a lot of businesses. Your biggest competitor in any business you get into is, will be, and always will be yourself. And somebody goes, Dean, that's the stupidest thing I ever heard. How can I be my biggest competitor? Well, let's just go down the line with real estate. So let's say a real estate agent becomes a real estate agent today. Typically, real estate agents do what I call marketing through direct mail and trying to get customers and, hey, I do real estate. Can I sell you a house? Can I buy your house? Can I do all this other thing? And I think there's a much more subtler approach that'll make you mega successful over long term when you look at a customer as a customer for life, not a customer as a transaction. And so I would say when you look at an average customer that's around you, somebody in your church, somebody that you're involved with in your business and you're selling real estate, different people, you want to ask yourself, could this person possibly, or would they ever want to own a home or a piece of real estate? The answer, I think, universally is going to be yes. And so then you have to ask yourself, okay, this kind of person is going to buy an X dollar house. Let's just use that for giggles today. So if that house is a $300,000 house and you were to make 3% on that $300,000 house, your commission would be $9,000. And people go, well, yeah, I'll make $9,000 on that house. Well, I always tell people, or I coach my teams, and to value that $9,000 in an hourly rate. So to make $200,000 a year, which most real estate people don't make $200,000 a year, but to make $200,000 a year, you're going to make $100 an hour working 2,000 hours in a year. So a client that is worth $9,000 to you is worth 90 hours of time. That's $100 an hour times 90, which equals $9,000. So somebody goes, well, you don't always get every customer. So I said, okay, I apply percentages to it. So even a customer with a 10% chance is still worth $900 in a value to you with a 10% chance. That's still 9 hours. Ask yourself, when was the last time you spent 9 hours working on your business, developing your customer base, and really creating relationships? So here's some interesting stats. So in the real estate business, The average homeowner will move every 5 point something years. So in essence, if you sell one house, let's just use for grins 300 grand and a move each time in the marketplace. Once you have a client and you keep building the relationship with that client, in their lifetime, they could have, say, in 40 years, that could be 8 transactions. So that's 8 transactions times this 9,000. Oh, but you may be handling both sides of the transaction. So now you're talking about, let's say, 18,000, again, using the 300,000. So now you have this many transactions times 18,000. You've got somebody that's probably worth 100 grand to you. Somebody goes, "Are you crazy, Dean?" I said, "Actually, I'm not." And if anybody wants to write in, it's help at CEO.com, adjunctceo.com, help at adjunctceo.com. I'll be happy to sit down with you or call you on a phone, or we'll work this out on paper to show you that these are just facts. So now you know the customers are worth a lot of money. So now you want to start working the customer. If they're worth that every 5 years, and of course you're going to have somebody that's going to live in a house their lifetime, and you're going to have somebody that's going to move every 2 years. But statistically, you can count on that. The other thing you can count on is 50% of the people, especially married couples, unfortunately, I'm not proud of this stat, but are going to go through divorces, which means if you have a client that your relationship and professional relationship with both parties in the marriage, you now could have more transactions. So do you see how this thing develops? Now I'm going to tell you the craziest thing. So you've been in real estate for a while, and I asked one of the real estate folks I work with the other day, I said, "Do you know the children of the customers you've sold to?" I mean, I know their first name. I said, "Do you really know them? Have you connected with them? Do you send them birthday cards? Do you make them part of are you part of their life as they're growing up? So that when they get out of college and they get married and they move back home, which they don't all, but a lot of them do, and they go, man, I got to buy my first home," but they're totally connected with you because you've literally been raising them with real estate, with soft touches that they know you to be a very, very special person in the industry that'll take great care of. So now you start multiplying kids, divorce, multiple purchases, and suddenly you see this huge potential value out of every customer. With that potential value, do you think you work it like in a relationship? In other words, are you sending them your typical flyer that shows just sold a house for $200,000 or just listed a house and hoping they go, "Oh, wow, I'm so excited, I want to do business with them"? Or are you connecting with them? Do you know all your customers' birthdays? Do you know all their anniversaries? Do you know all their kids' names? Do you know their birthdays? Do you know where they work? Do you know special events in their life? How are you keeping connected with your customer, your previous sales, so that if they're out with a friend and somebody goes, "Man, we're thinking about moving," they go, "Man, you ought to meet my real estate person. He or she, it's the most incredible thing. They've never forgotten my birthday. I get flowers at Easter, and I don't think I've ever met anybody in any business that takes care of me like so and so does." That's your brand. And with that brand, you're going to have infinite customers. And so when people say it's competitive, I ask them this question: how many customers did you lose? And they go, "What do you mean?" I go, "How many customers contacted you, said, 'Will you help me with my house?' And then they go, 'Nah, I'm not going to use you. I'd rather use somebody else,' at that very moment, and choose somebody else and do a transaction with somebody else." My bet that doesn't happen very often if you're halfway on your game. The biggest challenge is to have that person initially contact you, and or you have a relationship with somebody or them where you're their first thought always. Operative word there is always. So to all my folks out there in sales, especially if you're in the real estate business or the insurance business and stuff, remember the life value of a client. And when you look at the life value of a client, take the life value of your personal earnings with that client, divided it by the amount of money you want to make. If you want to make 500 grand a year, that's 250 dollars an hour, easy math, 2,000 hours. Divide that into the amount of commissions you made and or could make with this potential client, and then ask yourself, am I really working? Am I really working my customer base effectively to get my $250 an hour return? Now, I'm going to give you a stat as I sign off today and leave you with this thought. So far, when I've done this math with anybody, they've come up goose egg. They have not worked their clients. They have not worked their referrals with relationships in order to earn that $250 an hour when you look at their commissions. And you look at them as one and dones. And when you start building the math, and by the way, anybody out there in real estate, again, if you want help at adjunctceo.com, help at adjunctceo.com, I will be happy to send you a template, an Excel template. I'll email it to you where you can put your own data in. And it's going to be startling to you. And you're going to see that in the race of competitiveness, your biggest competitor is yourself. So I look forward to hearing from you. Again, I thank everybody for all the downloads across the world now. I'm in 29 countries. Again, shout out to the Irish. I don't know who over there loves me, but somebody over there loves me. I'm getting tons of downloads in Ireland. And then my second biggest market in the United States is California. So we love everybody out on the West Coast. I'm here for you. I'm here sharing real stories. I'm here sharing with you as somebody that has lived what I'm telling you about. So I really, really want people to go out, look in the mirror and ask yourself this: am I doing the stuff to earn my $100 or $250 an hour with my life cycle value of a client? You guys have a great week. Think about it, model it out. I think it's going to be shocking for you. Bye-bye.
We hope you enjoyed today's show. Make sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss a single episode. If you have any questions or need some help, just email help@adjunctceo.com. Thanks for tuning in.